Welcome to the Shootin' Show. Stand by for shots fired.
Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of the Shootin' Show, and welcome again to this week's program. We've got a great show for you. You know, we do respond to you viewers' comments and your ideas, your phone calls, and your letters, and we sincerely try and get things in as often as we can or as fast as we can if we feel like it's going to be a feature that a lot of people are going to enjoy. Anyway, we're so glad to have you with us. We've got so many good things going for our program. I want to remind you, our cool downers, yes, it is hot, and yes, I am comfortable. If you haven't received your cool downer yet, because we ran out early on, as soon as we announced these things, we began to get more orders than we had in stock. So we have some in, and if you've been wondering when you're going to get your cool downer, well, it'll be going out this week. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. We've got a great show for you. And let's open another shooting show. You know, watermelons are fun targets, and we've just finished a watermelon season here on the farm. We've got a few left, and I think we'll just start the show with one today. A little messy, but they are fun. Friends, first thing we're going to do today, we're going to look at two very similar, but in some ways very different guns. Both of these are Smith & Wesson 686 357 Magnums. The gun in my left hand has a 4-inch barrel. The gun in my right hand has a 2.5-inch barrel. And there are a number of subtle differences as well as some pretty major ones. But both of these, as far as a 357 Magnum handgun goes, as I've said before on the show, are about as good as it gets. They're extremely accurate, they're durable, they're rugged, certainly rust resistant, because you know we can't say stainless is rust proof because it's not. Stainless will corrode under the right conditions, but it is much more rust resistant, say, than a blued gun such as this Model 57 Smith & Wesson. So it won't require quite as much care if you live in a real damp climate or around salt water. Well, stainless may be a good option for you if you're not going to spend that much time and maintenance on your guns. But the 686 that we're going to look at in particular today is this short one. I suppose you'd call this the snubby version or snub-nosed version of the 686. And some people would say, well, it's still a fairly large handgun. Why would you want a short barrel or short version of already a gun that is not, we wouldn't call the standard 4-inch barrel model, certainly an oversized gun. But I tell you what, it does have its uses. It is easier to tuck away if you're going to carry this in a concealment type holster. But since this gun also has the very fine Smith & Wesson adjustable sights, it is amazingly accurate, even at 25 or so yards. Tell you what, friends, just because the gun has a short barrel does not mean it is not accurate. We've run some tests, and I've seen tests that other people have run, which showed the short barrel, as long as you've got enough rifling, enough barrel to stabilize that bullet, a shorter barrel may be just as accurate as a longer barrel. In fact, where you tend to gain the advantage with the longer barrel is in velocity increase of having more burn time for your powder. That is principally the advantage of a longer barrel. Now also, a longer barrel has a longer sight radius and does make it easier to shoot accurately at longer ranges. But as far as from a machined rest, what the guns will do, a lot of us will be amazed at what these short barrel revolvers will do. You know, last week's program featured, I shot a balloon at 90 yards here on the range with a tiny pocket pistol. So they really will reach out there if you've got a quality gun and quality ammunition. Anyway, one of the things we're going to show in just a few minutes is the velocity difference between the 2.5-inch barrel and the 4-inch barrel. But there's something I want to call to your attention. We have discovered the Corbon 357 Magnum bullets, and what we're seeing is a Corbon bullet in 357 will give what we normally think of as full-size gun performance in a small package. Now, to tell you the truth, I haven't chronographed the Corbon out of the 4-inch barrel. I don't know what it will do, but what we're seeing is that the Corbon 125 grain jacketed hollow point in 357 is averaging about 1,400 feet per second from this 686, and it's showing no signs whatsoever of pressure or stuck cases or being an overload. So that is something that I think is a very exciting development for someone who wants to carry a smaller yet extremely powerful gun like this 2.5-inch barrel 686, the Corbine is definitely something to think about. Now, Corbine has never done any advertising with us. However, just because someone hadn't advertised with us is no reason that we won't do a feature or tell you folks about it on the program. Now then, if you're in fact interested in Corbine ammunition, and this will help a lot of people who want the ultimate performance and ammunition maybe they can't find at their local discount store or their local gun shop. Corbine is a little harder to find than some others. Let me tell you how to get in touch with them. We'll go ahead and give them this plug. It's Corbine. They have an 800 number. It's 1-800-6 Corbine, C-O-R-B-O-N. Those are the numbers, 1-800-6 C-O-R-B-O-N. So, heck, call them up, find out where you can get it, because it really is in selected calibers. The 9mm in particular is a real standout. It's certainly a higher performance load than the average citizen can buy. And what we're seeing here in the 357 Magnum, it is really an outstanding performer. And if that's what you want, is full-size performance from a small 357, well, give those folks at Corbine a call, and please, if you would, tell them you saw it on the Shootin' Show, because we need every sponsor we can get, certainly. But anyway, let's take a close-up look at some of the differences between the 2.5-inch barrel 686 and the 4-inch barrel model. All right, friends, as you can see, the grip is different. You have a round butt grip. We have the short gun on your right. You have a round butt on the short 686 versus a square butt on the full-size model or standard size model. And of course you can tell in the difference in barrel length. There's that much difference. There's also a difference in the ejector rod length. Now friends, what you'll notice on the you don't have as long an ejector rod on the 2.5-inch barrel gun. So what you would do, you would slap this with your hand smartly with the gun up at an angle like this to dump the empties, and be sure that they come out like they're supposed to. All right, friends, I'll remind you that since it is basically a full-size 686 with a smaller grip frame and a shorter barrel, speed loaders and other accessories for the 686 will also fit, including this tremendous Safariland speed loader. So see how simple this is. You find a couple of holes and line them up, and you just literally push the button and of course let the speed loader just fall away, and your gun is loaded. Extremely efficient and quick, very reliable.
Get ready to order the most exciting videotape ever offered on television. It's the best of guns, guns, guns. 60 minutes of action, excitement, and the most amazing display of firearms available on video. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, and machine guns. See Bob Munden, the fastest gun who ever lived. USPSA pistol competition, the Steel Challenge, U.S. Marine Corps weapons, machine guns from around the world, and lots of surprises. If you like guns, you'll love the best of guns, guns, guns. Available only through this special TV offer. Fast draw competition, hand cannon, Soldier of Fortune firepower, how to shoot fast, and lots more like you've never seen it before in this 60-minute action-packed video. Use your credit card to order toll-free now. Call 1-800-942-8273. You'll receive the best of guns, guns, guns for just $29.95 plus $4 shipping. By ordering now, you'll receive this 28-page gun video catalog absolutely free. So call with your credit card right now, 1-800-942-8273, or send check or money order to 7888 Ostro Street, Suite A, San Diego, California, 92111.
All right, friends, what we're going to do, let's shoot a couple of the very popular Winchester silver tips through our chronograph here, through the full-size 686, and let's see what sort of volume we get. Then we'll compare it to the shorter gun. All right, friends, here's the silver tip through the 4-inch barrel 357 686. Let's see what our numbers are. Watch the screen and see what comes up. Okay, that's going to be a representative figure of 1,250 or so feet per second with the Winchester silver tips. Now then, let's check the Corbine, and we're not going to shoot long strings here, but we'll get an idea. Let's try the Corbine through it. Watch the screen on the chronograph now. Okay, 1429 And let's shoot one more to get see how consistent we are. 1442. Now then, remember we had 1254 or so, and about 1440, 1400 plus in that range. So let's try through our shorter gun again. We'll show it to you again in a moment, but let's watch the screen on the chronograph with the 2.5 inch barrel model. With the silver tips first. Well, see, you're still getting within about 50 feet or so per second, even with silver tips on, even with the 2.5 inch barrel. All right, that one's 1200 even. Now then, let's try one of the carbine bullets through the 2.5 inch gun. See what it looks like. Watch the screen now. 1384, which is pretty darn good. So let's shoot one more. See what it looks like. 1389. So we shot some earlier that went 1420 or so, but 1390 is awfully good performance for a 2.5 inch barrel. Now friends, as you can see, the 2 inch barrel 686 performs extremely well. It just doesn't give up that much. And of course, we're going to unload these guns. You know, friends, I cannot stress safety enough. You'll notice that every time you see me here on the program down on the range, I'm wearing a pair of shooting glasses, and I'm always wearing hearing protection. There's just no excuse for not using it. You know, accidents can happen so quickly on any sort of firearm. There's just no point in taking chances. Now, we try every way possible to prevent accidents. Just everything we can say and do that will help prevent accidents is certainly worthwhile. You know, a couple of days ago, a friend of mine got shot with some bird shot. He was dove hunting, and a hunter behind him somewhere was not being careful and hit him in the back with some bird shot. Now, thankfully, he was far enough away that it didn't do any real serious damage. But let me tell you what, he had to go to the hospital. He's going to have several weeks of pain and sore back muscles, and if his face was turned, it would have put his eyes out. Friends, there is no excuse for not paying attention. All of the game animals in the world is not worth someone inadvertently getting hurt through carelessness. There's just no need in it. You know, what had happened, I think, in this particular case, a young man was watching some birds, and he wasn't paying attention to where the other hunters were. And this is something that we cannot talk about enough, and that is safety in the field, safety while hunting, because it was just an act of God. I assumed that this man was not hurt worse than he was. When a game animal comes up, my gosh, if there are other hunters in the area, if someone's in front of you, that's a no-shoot. It's like that game animal or that bird does not exist. If you've got a hunter over here in front of you that might possibly come within the range of your shotgun or rifle or handgun, it's just like that particular animal does not exist. Friends, we cannot use guns or any other mechanical device and disengage our brain. There's nothing that can go back and repair if someone gets seriously wounded or even killed due to an accident while hunting. You see, it hurts all of us. When there's any sort of hunting accident, the anti-gun people, if they can blow it out of proportion, they will, and they use things like this to make all of us as gun owners and shooters and hunters look bad. You know, accidents do happen, unfortunately. Just being alive, being a living, breathing human being, you are subject to some accidents. But when it comes to these machines, friends, we can prevent accidents. We can work at being safer. If you're a parent and you're teaching your children about guns, explain to them just how serious the consequences will be in the event of an accident. We cannot talk about that too much, and of course I'll keep on. That's part of my job here as host of this show, is to talk about gun safety and gun safety and gun safety, and for that matter, shooter safety, because that's where it all begins, is safety of the shooter.
Stay tuned for more of The Shootin' Show after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, as shooting enthusiasts, all of us should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Shotgun News, Post Office Box 669, Hastings, Nebraska. That zip code is 68902. Their phone number is area 402-463-4589. MasterCard or Visa, subscriptions only now. Call them at 1-800-345-6923. And I'd like to remind our viewers, this is Larry Scott with KWKH Radio, based here in Shreveport. Larry's a good friend of ours and a good friend of the show and shooters in general. You can catch his program on Larry Scott's Interstate Road Show on KWKH Radio. That's 11:30 on your AM dial, midnight to 5:30 a.m.
You know, this gun will not fire on anything or anybody by itself. It has to be activated by a shooter. And this is what we're trying so hard and desperately to convince these people in Congress, the other people around the country who have no concept of what shooting is all about. We have to explain to them it is not the firearm, because the firearm is just a mechanical device with a certain function of launching a bullet out to its hopefully intended target. So it is in fact the shooter which must be legislated, not the firearm. You know, friends, there are problems now. A lot of people are talking about gang violence. A couple of weeks ago at our local Methodist church, where I normally go on Sundays, an individual came up who was a very nonviolent person who didn't have a clue about why we need firearms. This particular person had been out of the country and comes back here after several years and sees all the violence. Well, friends, this right here, these guns are not the cause of the violence. In our larger cities, in so many areas, we have children that are growing up without parental care. So many of the children out there, some of them are welfare children, some of them aren't. But they don't have daddies at home, especially young men. Now, friends, trust me on this one. Young men at home need daddies. A mother can do 100% of her job, but she can't be a daddy to that young man or those young men. And friends, let me tell you what. If kids are carrying guns to school, I don't blame the kids as much as I do the parents, because doggone it, they ought to know what their children are doing. Children, when they're 14, 15, 16 years of age, have no business being out on the street all night. They've got no business being turned loose. We've got to get hold of our children, just like we've got hold of the politicians. We need to get hold of our politicians. They have got to be brought back under control. Rather than gun control, how about kid control? How about politician control rather than gun control? And this is a huge problem in our society. People don't want to blame themselves or don't want to take responsibility for letting these children run wild. Well, friends, it is not the gun's fault. There's nothing wrong with our Constitution. It goes back to a matter of morality, and nobody is watching the children. Now, if you want to talk about most of the problems in the big city with young people, with drugs, with crime, it comes back to nobody is guiding, nobody is watching those children. And friends, trust me on this one. If we're going to have a society left, if we're going to have a country left, we have got to get back where we emphasize some moral values in school. And thanks to some things with the courts and the government, that's very difficult to do now. But we've got to somehow get morality and right and wrong. You know, situational ethics is not what will work for society. Something wrong over here may or may not be wrong in another situation according to situational ethics. Well, friends, there are absolutes in time and in space and here on earth and about human morality. There are, in fact, absolutes in some areas. Now, I'm all for let live and let live, but there are some things that are definitely right. It is always wrong to steal. It is always wrong to hurt someone for no reason. Always. There are rights and wrongs. It is my right to live as a free American just like it is yours. It is my right to own firearms as long as I'm responsible and careful, and that is right. That is not a wrong. That is right. And this is something that we have got to address in our country again. It's like, well, there's no real right, there's no real wrong. It's not true. That's a lie. There are rights, there are wrongs, and we have got to start letting some of these young people know just what those are. Anyway, back to the drawing board. Friends, if you need a small yet powerful handgun, this 686 with a 2.5-inch barrel with good quality ammunition is a tremendous combat gun, is a tremendous police officer's gun, it is a tremendous gun for home defense. It can be placed and carried in areas where you would, on your person, that you might have more difficulty with a larger gun. And of course, none of us are for breaking the law. We never advocate breaking the law, but as I've said before, there are places in the country where you can get concealed carry permits for handguns. And this would be a prime candidate. In fact, this is one of the absolute best concealable guns that I have ever seen or am aware of, because you have full 6-shot capability along with a full-powered cartridge with these tremendous ammunition choices available. And friends, trust me on this one, for protecting your life or your home or whatever you need to protect, this short 686 is one of the best guns going.
Welcome back to the National Rifle Association's National Action Pistol Championship in Columbia, Missouri. The best pistol shooters in the world have come together to compete for over $200,000 in cash and prizes. Our next shooter is Judy Woolley, up now at the Winchester Falling Plate event. Judy is a member of Team Smith & Wesson. She shoots all year round and gets paid more than $50,000 a year to shoot and compete.
Ready?
Judy Woolley is one of the best women pistol shooters in the world. She completes the Winchester Falling Plate event with a perfect score, 480 points. Right now, here's Lenny McGill at the National Shooting Sports Foundation's Jackpot Shoot.
Thanks, Tom. This event is a test of pure speed, and it's a lot of fun, too. At the sound of the tone, the shooter draws and shoots the 5 knockdown steel bowling pins. You can fire as many shots as you like, but the fastest time wins.
4-0-3.
Our first shooter is Jim Griggs. He's been shooting competition pistol and shotgun for the past 8 years.
Ready? 4-2-8. Ready?
I asked Jim what he likes most about competition shooting.
I like the people that are involved in it. I like shooting. I like the sport. It gives me a good gauge of the war against myself within. It's one of the most mental games around other than golf, and I don't play golf.
Ready?
Jim Griggs blazes through the National Shooting Sports Foundation's Jackpot Shoot with a combined time of 10.32 seconds.
Now let's switch over to the barricade event with Yoko Shimomura. Yoko was the top female competitor in 1990 here at the NRA Bianchi Cup. Don't you just love those glasses?
Stand by. Ready?
Not a bad-looking target. She's shooting very well here this year.
Stand by. Ready?
She's got all 10s up to now. She'll go on to finish the NRA Bianchi Cup with a total score of 1,868 points and 129 X's. And that places her 93rd in the overall standings. She finishes the Tasco Barricade event with 475 points and 34 X's.
Stand by.
Next up is Kay Clark, who's from Keithsville, Louisiana. She's shooting at the NRA Practical event. What do you like most about the NRA Bianchi Cup competition?
It's a little more, there's more women here than just about any match you go to. One thing, makes it a little more fun to shoot against the other women. And same courses of fire. I don't know if I actually like that over the same courses of fire every year, but it lets you pace yourself on, you know, I can tell if I've improved over the last 4 years. Or like at IPSC, you know, everything's a little different, so.
Well, now you're a competition shooter. You've been shooting competition for several years. What do you like most about competition shooting?
I like the rush. Get a little adrenaline rush here as you get up on the line. I may be yawning, you know, right before I get there, but then you get a little rush going, and just the excitement of it. It's fun.
Well, how you doing?
Ready! Stand by!
Okay, so you're still competitive. You really look good. What's on your mind? How are you going to approach these next two events?
These two are over. I'd try to look at each one as a different match. So now I've got the mover match next, and that's all I've got. I don't even think about the plates till you step up there. One shot at a time.
Kay Clark will finish up the practical event with 474 points and 31 X's for a total score of 1,895 points and 139 X's. Now, here's Don Golombisky. He's up at the moving target event, the mail order video moving target event. Let's see how it is at the 10-yard line. Don's a very active competitive shooter. He shoots IPSC, he shoots the Steel Challenge, and of course he's here at the NRA Bianchi Cup. I understand he's also made an appearance at the Masters event. Don has cleaned the practical event. He's cleaned the Tasco Barricade event, and he's cleaned the Winchester Falling Plate event. The big question is, what can he do here at the mail order video moving target event? With a clean score here, he could actually win the overall championship. He's back now at the 20-yard line. 3 shots in 6 seconds. And it looks like he's got them all in there so far. Don's shooting at the upper range at the Chapman Academy. This is up from the main range. This is a second moving target stage that he's got installed on his shooting facility. Don goes on to drop 9 points here at the moving target event. This is, of course, the most challenging event in the whole championship. That's going to give him a score of 471 points and 35 X's. You can see right there, he's got a couple out into the 8 ring there, so he dropped 4 points on that last pass alone. His total score for the overall match is 1,911 points and 166 X's, which placed him 19th overall in the 1992 NRA Bianchi Cup.
Friends, we thought you might enjoy seeing a past Bianchi Cup, an excerpt anyway. Those tapes and many more are available from mail order video. And by the way, we'll be right back after this 1-minute break for your local cable company or TV station. Friends, I know we all enjoyed watching Kay Clark shoot a little bit earlier in the program, and that gives us cause to tell you about Clark Custom Guns in Keithville, Louisiana. Friends, for all kinds of competition 1911 model pistols, and for that matter, some very fine revolver work, the people at Clark's are absolutely as good as it gets. Clark Custom Guns, Keithville, Louisiana. That post office box is Box 530. Their phone number is area 318-925-0836. Champion guns built by champion shooters.
Hi, I'm Bill McIntyre with another update from Capitol Hill here at National Rifle Association headquarters in Washington, D.C. Sitting beside me is the Executive Director of the Institute for Legislative Action, Jim Baker. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you.
All right, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the August recess in the United States Congress and what's on everybody's minds.
Well, Congress went out of session last Friday after having finished the budget debate and having passed that by the narrowest of margins. When they get back, I would expect that the administration and the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee in both the House and Senate sides will introduce their crime bills.
What are those crime bills going to include?
Well, that's the $64 question at this point. I would expect, based on meetings that we've had prior to sitting down and talking to you all today, that there will be a Brady bill of some kind. What the exact provisions of that bill will be is anybody's guess at this point. There will also be a number of amendments that will be offered when the crime bills actually hit the floor of the House of Representatives in the United States Senate, including semi-auto bans, perhaps federal firearms license reform, one gun a month, which I'm sure you've heard about in Virginia, which passed last state legislative session in Virginia. So it's going to be a very active fall. Now is a good time for viewers to contact their congressmen because they're going to be out until out in the districts and out in the states until September 6th.
Well, we know that there are a lot of new congressmen, a lot of rookies. They're untested on the gun issue. We also know that President Clinton has publicly endorsed the Brady bill and is looking even further. Is this making waiting periods an inevitability, or do we have more to look forward to?
Well, we have a very tough road on waiting periods on the so-called Brady bill. It doesn't come as a shock to anybody that follows the legislative process that last session, during the last 2 years of the Bush administration, the Brady bill in one form or another passed in the House and passed in the Senate. It did not make it to the President's desk because it got tied up in the context of the crime bill and the presidential election year. But I believe that there will be votes as early as late September, October, November, before they go out for Christmas on the crime bill, on the Brady bill, and you can bet on semi-autos and at least one or two other restrictive gun control measures, which makes it all that much more important that people get out during August and go to the chicken dinners and the fundraisers and the town meetings and the rest of the events that congressmen and senators are going to be holding throughout the month of August.
That was my next question. You spent a lot of time inside congressmen's offices, senators' offices. Does it really make a difference when folks, our members, gun owners, write those letters, make those visits? What do you see? What do you see that's hardcore, that's relevant to do the job you do?
It does make a big difference. A lot of times members will call up during the 14 years I've been working here and say, you know, we wrote a letter last year. Does it really make a difference? Should we make a phone call? Do they really listen? And the fact of the matter is they do. When I'm in congressmen's office and senators' offices, you see the letters. They have people working on them. They actually look at them to see that this person lives in their state or lives in their district, and they let the congressman or senator know what their opinion is, and that is the single best way to get your point of view across. If you can't find the congressman to talk to him face-to-face, for goodness sakes, write him a letter or make a phone call and express your opinion, because it does matter. And don't just do it once. We've had members and gun owners across the country calling throughout the last spring and earlier this summer, and they need to follow up. When the legislation doesn't get hot and isn't on the floor, is not the time to let down your guard. That's when you can really make an impact. The best way to make it turn out the way you want it to turn out is to become involved in the process, call your congressmen, write your senators, visit them while they're home during the recess, and express your point of view.
All right, there you have it. Jim Baker, Executive Director, Institute for Legislative Action. For now, I'm Bill McIntyre. I'll see you next week with another update from Capitol Hill here at NRA headquarters in Washington, D.C.
There's a movement in this country to surrender the Second Amendment.
Listen to this. There is no reason for anyone in this country, anyone except a police officer or a military person, to buy, to own, to have, to use a handgun.
And, still quoting, the only way to do that is to change the Constitution.
That's not some nobody That's the president of NBC News.
You see, they want to repeal your constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Well, you can help stop it by joining the NRA.
For just $25, you'll get a year of great magazines and member benefits, and you'll be where all honest gun owners belong, in the NRA.
If you want to keep the rights your founding fathers entrusted to you,
The rights the Constitution guarantees to you.
The rights the NRA protects for you.
call now.
Now, friends, you'll remember a few weeks ago when we ran this piece with Bill McIntyre and Jim Baker from Washington on how and why to contact your congressman. Well, they're going back in session shortly, and I'm afraid that some of these people are going to be up to some mischief where we as the gun owners are concerned. So please contact your senators, your congressmen. Let them know how you feel. Write them or make those phone calls and join the NRA. Friends, I tell you what, we're in the fight.
Now, friends, we're going to talk about something today we've had some letters on recently, and that is how to sight in an adjustable sighted handgun. And this will also work for a long gun that has open sights. As you can tell, we're looking, of course, through our rear sight here. We want to see through the groove in the rear sight, or the cutout part there. We want to find our front sight. And we want our top of the front sight to be level with the top of the rear sight. See, in our front sight here, okay. And now then, let's take a look like so. We'll hold it just a little steadier. But you can see it is very important, and I can't stress this enough, to have a good sight picture on whatever you intend to shoot. Now, typically, your front sight here is always, you want it to be clear. Now, your eye can only focus, I don't know if there's a word such as that or not. How about focus on one thing at a time? So we want to be focused on the front sight. Now, what you're going to find is the rear sight, the blade here on the rear sight is going to be a little bit fuzzy, and your target out in front of you will be a little bit fuzzy. But what you do is you focus on the front sight. You want the front sight level with the rear sight. You want an equal amount of light on both sides of your front sight through the rear sight indentation there. To make the bullet, if you're sighted on the chart, to make the bullet go to the right, you will move this rear blade to the right. If you want the bullet to go to the left, you will move this rear blade through your adjustment screw, like on the Smith & Wesson here. You will move your blade to the left. If you want the bullet to go higher, you will raise the front sight with this screw here on our rear sight. See, you'll back it out and raise the sight blade. If you want the bullet to go lower, you will lower the rear sight. So it's very simple, but it's so important on accurately shooting a handgun. Now then, friends, as we were looking at up close a moment ago, here's our handgun, and this is essentially what you'll see in your sight picture looking from the back of the gun. We're going to call the X here our target, and I'll remind you again, you want an equal amount of light. If your sights are properly adjusted, you want an equal amount of light on both sides of your front sight, which we have as our dark portion here. You want an equal amount of light, and you want your target you're shooting at to be right on top of your front sight. So on a rifle, such as a Winchester Model 94, a lot of them have buckhorn type sights due to the nature of the horn type sighting. You'll have a bead or something similar as your front sight. Now here's what I like to do. I like to use the same drill on a rifle as I do on a handgun. I want that bead in the center and level across with the top of the rear sight blade with my target zeroed properly on top of my front sight. This is how I do it. Some people like the ball of the front sight on the rifle down in the groove. Well, I personally don't. I want it at the top there where you have an equal amount of light showing, and I want it level right across here, and of course the X here is my target. Now friends, you know hunting season's coming up in a lot of different places around the country, and being as this is the first part of September when we're taping this, and of course we have Deer season to look forward to soon. Dove season's already open in a lot of areas, and of course many other seasons also around the country. So we're going to talk a little bit about sighting in a high-powered rifle. Now, a lot of us will be changing scopes, and maybe for cleaning or for storage, we're taking our scope off our rifle. There'll be all kinds of reasons to sight in, or maybe we're just, we've had a gun with open sights that we just put a scope on. All kinds of reasons to sight in our rifle. Maybe the gun was dropped during a trip last year and we didn't ever re-sight it to check the accuracy on our scope. So for whatever reason, now what we have here is our standing bench rest, and we have a double sandbag rest. And of course the front sandbag is underneath the stock. We never put it underneath the barrel. And of course I have the rear sandbag here underneath the rear portion of the stock. Now you can adjust this to fit whatever shooting configuration that you like. In fact, our rest is not completely solid, so we're going to set it. Now then, okay. Now then, that's a little better, maybe. But anyway, you want a good, firm, solid shooting position. Now, one way of sighting in, of course, a bolt-action rifle, this will work on some other types, is literally to take the bolt out of the bolt-action rifle. And what you do is you put a target out at whatever distance you want to start with. When we're bore sighting, there's no point putting it at 100 yards. Put it out at, say, 25 yards or so it's easily seen. And what you'll do, you can look down the bore at the target, say an X on the target you have out there. And what you'll do, you'll look at where the bore is literally on the target, and then you can adjust your scope to see the same mark. Very simple. Doesn't take any bullets fired. It's pretty quick. At least this will give you a starting point. And of course then you'll take your gun on out to 100 yards and fine tune it.
Now friends, stay tuned for more of the Shootin' Show after this break for your local cable company or TV station. You know, friends, for the absolute best in monthly shooting magazine, turn to Shooting Times. They have all sorts of excellent features on handguns, rifles, shotguns, and black powder by some of your favorite gun writers. Each month you'll find interesting articles on guns, shooting, reloading, and new products in the firearms industry, along with information on pending legislation of interest to all gun owners. For subscription information, call 1-800-727-4353. Shooting Times, the best there is.
Now friends, as we were talking about a moment ago, the bolt-action rifle is very simple to get started, also as are single shots, where you can literally take the bolt out or drop the block or whatever and actually look down the barrel at a target. Well, let's say that you don't have a bolt-action rifle. Let's say you have a semi-automatic like this Remington 742. Now friends, we can't, due to the nature of how the gun's made, we can't bore sight it because we have a closed breech on it. We can't look down the barrel. Oh, I suppose you could set up some mirrors or something, but I don't have any mirrors available in that size. So what we would do is so simple. Tell you a little story briefly. A few years ago, I stumbled upon a couple of young men who were sighting in a rifle, and they were out at about 60 or 70 yards, and they had one box of ammunition, and they had, in fact, I forget what type rifle it was. I think it was a semi-automatic. And they had shot most of their box of bullets, their 20 bullets, without getting on the paper. And one of them was shooting, one of them was spotting, and said, they're saying, well, where did I hit? Where did I hit? Well, they went gone through about 17 bullets, and hadn't ever found the paper yet because they had a new scope mounted on the gun. They didn't really know the basics of how to sight in a gun. So I just stopped and said, now wait a minute, fellas. I said, you know, you're 60, 70 yards away from that target, and you hadn't hit the target yet in 16, 17 bullets. Why don't you start at maybe 15 or 20 yards? And you know, friends, that is so simple, but sometimes the simplest things escape us. When you mount a scope on a gun and you can't bore sight it, and you don't have any idea where it's going to shoot, well, don't get back at 50 or 100 yards to start shooting. Hey, how about 10 yards, 15 yards, and be sure that the gun is actually printing on paper. And so you can make some minor adjustments. You know that if it's 2 feet low from a bullseye at 10 yards, well, you know that you've got some adjustment to do. But what I would suggest, if you're new to hunting, or if you just literally want to learn more about where and how your gun operates, get a loading manual such as the Hornady or Sierra or Spear, whoever. They all make excellent or publish excellent manuals, and look at what your particular bullet will do at a particular range. Now, another essential that we want for sighting in a gun, you need a spotting scope. Now, this particular little spotting scope is inexpensive. In fact, this one came from Kmart. But you know what? At 100 yards, you can see a fly crawling around on the paper. And that's plenty good enough, because that's really, if you can sight your gun, say this is a 30-06 with a 150 grain bullet moving at about 2,800 feet per second. Now this is, we're going to give averages here. At 100 yards, you would want it roughly about 2 inches high, printing center about 2 inches high over a bullseye, to be dead on at 200 yards. And out at 300 yards, you're still going to be pretty close on the vital area of a game animal. You're going to be about 8 inches low at 300 yards with a 200-yard zero. And different calibers, of course, will vary somewhat, but that's why we need our loading manual with the tables in there that will tell us what the bullet is doing at long range, because they figured all this up from practical experience and from computers, and it can be really useful to you in sighting in your rifle. And you know, we want everybody to be as accurate a shooter as possible, because we don't want those game animals wounded or left out there to die. We want a quick, humane kill on a game animal, certainly. If it's worth going to all the trouble to go hunting, it's worth spending a little time down at the range and learning to shoot your gun properly. A lot of people, a lot of hunters will shoot several times during the season, and heck, they may not shoot a gun until next year. So we encourage everyone, if you're going out there hunting a game animal, spend a little time with a particular ammunition and with your gun to find out just in fact what it will do. And you know, doing a little preseason shooting, one, it's fun, it's very enjoyable, and two, you may find a glitch that your gun has developed, or maybe you didn't clean it quite good enough last year when you put it away. And all sorts of things like this you can find out in doing a little sighting in and target practice. Now, friends, you know it's real important, your bullet configuration, and we're going to cover that on another program, but different bullet configurations from a sharp point to a round nose bullet. When you get out there at 100, 200, 300 yards, they will definitely have different flight capabilities and characteristics. But anyway, let's shoot this Remington 742. This great 30-06 cartridge. We'll put our magazine in the base of the gun. Be sure it's in firmly. And you know me, pull that bolt handle all the way to the rear and let it go. All right, our safety's on. We'll get in a solid shooting position here. And push our safety off and get on our target, and we'll go. Yep, a little recoil. 30-06 kicks every time, just a little bit. All right. And let me suggest 3-shot groups, because a lot of these sporter guns have light barrels. If you're going to put 3 shots in a small area, that to me, that's the best way to sight one in as far as for hunting. With hunting ammunition, use 3-shot groups. Some people, for target shooting, we like to use 5, but for a hunting rifle and hunting load, again, I would suggest 3-shot groups. Well, let's see here. Let's take one more.
Now, friends, speaking of getting your gun out for hunting season and cleaning it up, this is, in fact, the best gun cleaner that I have ever seen, and that I've seen a lot of gun cleaner over the years, but this is absolutely the best that I've encountered yet. RB17. In fact, it'll clean your gun. It'll even take tar off the side of your car without hurting the paint. It'll remove rust on your gun barrel. You can dip a little piece of quad-alt steel wool in RB17, and you can actually clean rust off a gun barrel without harming the bluing around it. So it is really a terrific product. Now, you can get this little 4-ounce bottle from us here at the Bullet Express through the Shooting Show for $5.95 plus shipping and handling, or you can find this in your local gun shop. Ask for RB17. You will not be disappointed. And speaking of the Bullet Express, you can get our new catalog, the Bullet Express, or in fact catalog sheets, because it's pretty short right now, but believe me, it is growing. And you can get that by writing to the Shooting Show, 554 Kings Highway, Shreveport, Louisiana. Our zip code is 71104, or you can call us at area 318-222-8515. Now then, for our Down to You and Me video, it's still available for $17.95, $9.95 for the music tape with 10 of my songs on there, including Down to You and Me. You can get our T-shirt for $14.95, and you can get our official cap for $12.95.
Plates at 20.
And now let's see a little more competition with this recent Bianchi Cup.
Ready?
Nagata's been shooting the NRA Bianchi Cup for many years. He's a very accomplished shooter, finished in the top 20, probably 6 or 7 times that I've seen him.
Ready? Six left, 4 right. Stand by. Ready?
Ichiro missed the plate at the 10-yard line this year.
Stand by.
So he's got a 470-point total gone with a clean run here. And he cleans that last pass, but he does finish up with 470 points and 47 X's with a total score overall of 1,885 points and 139 X's, which placed him 66th overall in the 1992 NRA Bianchi Cup. Now over at the Tasco Barricade event, here's the only 3-time winner of the Bianchi Cup, Mickey Fowler, who won in 1980, 1981, and 1982. In fact, before the invention of electronic optic sights.
Here you've been involved in the Cup now for the past 14 years, I guess, right? And you're a 3-time winner. What's it going to take to win the 1992 Bianchi Cup?
Probably a 1920 with, it might be 1 or 2 1920s, who knows. Or it might be a 1918, nobody knows, People put a lot of pressure on themselves by shooting super high scores early, Some are able to handle it and some aren't, so anything can happen, but it'll probably take a 1920.
Do you see that the competition is not only getting better, but these shooters are becoming deeper in their skill level? There's many more shooters who are
it's basically the same guys to beat every year so far, but the skill level in the middle of the field has come way up. So we have a much higher degree of skill, and the equipment's much better than it used to be. With the electronic sights and all the gadgets on the guns for hanging on the barricade and bumper pads and all that kind of stuff, the equipment has really come a long ways.
Mickey Fowler finishes up the Tasco Barricade event with 480 points and 41 X's for a total score of 1,916 points and 163 X's, which placed him in 6th place overall, and he'll take home a check for $1,250. Now, here's Alan Fulford at the practical event. Alan Fulford is a living legend in the shooting industry, in fact, the competition shooting sports. He has quite a list of credentials, and allow me to read them for you. In 1971, he was the Open Team NRA National Bullseye Champion. In 1990, he's the NRA 22 Bullseye Champion. 4-time National Civilian Bullseye Champion. He won the Masters competition in 1987 and 1990. He's a member of a national civilian team championship team for 16 times. He set 6 national records for bullseye, hunter pistol, and NRA action pistol. And he's a member of the NRA 2650 Club, which means that you've scored over 2,650 points out of a possible 2,700. And he is, of course, a life member of the NRA. Alan Fulford is a very fine gentleman, and he shoots very well. Here he is at the practical event. Let's see how he's doing.
Stand by! Ready?
Alan Fulford will go on to finish the NRA Bianchi Cup with 1,910 points and 153 X's, which places him 21st overall out of 201 competitors. He finishes the NRA practical event with 480 points and 39 X's.
We want to remind you there will be a Chevy Truck Team Challenge event at the Shootout in Houghton, Louisiana, September 11 and 12. That phone number is area 318-949-9146. And for all your shooting needs in the Arklatex area, come to Britton's in Shreveport. That phone number is 318-221-4131. Well, friends, it's happened again. We've run out of time, but we hope you've sincerely enjoyed this week's shooting show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Remember, if there's something going on in your area that you think we might want to cover, please give us a call. There's a chance myself or Kurt might be able to get down and take a look at it. Anyway, we look forward to seeing you next week on another shooting show.